These two here now are basically representing the angle of your club shaft when it comes down. So you see there's a difference there in terms of where it's on the body and the angle of it. It's not massive change. We don't want to see a massive change because you bloody missed the ball at the speed you're swinging, okay? So setup was good. Okay, takeaway in both these instances are pretty good, okay? Club's going back, nothing's really changed there, okay? You turn your torso nicely. We're going to get a bit more depth with this foot, knee, hip and shoulder in the back, so the weight feels a bit more back on that heel, okay? On this one here, as you go back, to the weight kind of going, the knees going forward, you're already, so even though your club now gets behind that red line, the first move down now, your hands are now starting to work over that red line, okay? So the shaft now is coming down on that red line. This one here now, okay, turning into that right hip, okay? You haven't gone as far behind, but because your body now is a lot quieter coming down, the club now starts to work a little more behind you. That's what Justin Rosedale, he talks about. You basically get to the top of the backswing and let the arms fall, yeah? You don't try to shallow out the angle with your body doing what the body's doing, okay? If your body is doing this forward movement or the weight's going on your toes, that is what's creating a steep shaft angle. Yeah. If, and we saw that as a glaring example, I said, you're getting a little bit steep there, George. You went, okay, I'll not get steep. You didn't tell me this, but okay, I'll try and shallow out the angle of attack. You do the same body movement and try to shallow out the angle, and you hit 50 yards right, and it's just used. And then I guess that's what so many golfers will try and they'll try and shallow out the angles. They know what steep and shallow look like, yeah, and they know they can move the club in midair with their hands and their arms and their forearms. But ultimately, if the body's not working effectively, no matter how much you try and shallow it, if you're over the top with the shoulder, this shoulder's kind of coming forward, and your weight's on your toes there too much, you're going to be over the top. And if you try and shallow the angle of attack, it just goes disappearing off into the trees on the right hand side, okay? So getting that club working down a more shallow angle. What we want to see eventually is this club kind of working more through your kind of right forearm, next frame down here, sort of through that, yeah? So you get that sort of sense. If I did this here now, massively exaggerated and did that, the club line's behind me. If I sort of have a bit of body turn, you'll see the club shaft of my right foot.
Almost creating lag.
That's kind of a lag kind of sensation, yeah. So the club is kind of falling down, you maintain your wrist angle, okay, and the club is working more behind you, getting more depth and coming in shallower, so just get your launch angle up, yeah. What you will find, obviously, you're able to square the club face up a lot more effectively, okay. So because you can release the club a lot easier, you can square the club face up a lot more, okay. You might find a couple of hooky-ish ones because of that, but it's not because you're hooking over the top and just smothering it, you'll just release. If it's a higher hooky one, that's a good sign. If it's that low hooky one, you're back to your old swing again where you were at the start of the session. I think with 3-wood and hybrid, definitely make sure they look down on the ground what looks open. They're not, but that's the sensation because that sort of pear-shaped finish, the toe looks like it's sitting back this way. We say, but it's miles open, but you're in the ball with this part of the club, not this part of the club. So it will look that kind of open look on the club face, okay? But as a swing thought, the body has to get a bit more turn in the backswing and get that depth of the shoulder and the hip there. So when you get to the top of the backswing, you're up here and just keep it there as much as you can. Regards flexibility, you're flexible enough. Okay, you're not a gymnast, but you need to be to get the club back as far as you can, yeah? We're not looking to try and get a bigger turn to try and get more distance, for God's sake, just trying to get that club working back behind you. And I think allowing that feeling in that, it's interesting you said that you used to try and do this with your foot. That may have been a real bad, that's what you used to do years ago. That may have just been a real lack of flexibility, just trying to turn it into sort of, you couldn't stop. I think I wouldn't say you're ever going to do that now. Obviously, your foot's not going to lift in the backswing off the ground, but as a drill feeling, you can just think, okay, am I turning to my heel? Yeah, am I turning to my heel? If I can lift my toes, you know you're doing it right, okay? So a bit of practice with that, get a bit more depth in the backswing so the club can start working down. So we can still hit the fades that you want to, but we're coming down this way, we're not coming down like that, yeah? So the launch angle will be a little bit higher. The angle of the club face into the goal will be a little bit shallower and a bit softer. Yeah. So come the wind, you're not going to be sort of thumping the ground and just plugging it, okay? In the summer, you're not going to be whacking the ground and bouncing off the ground and losing control because the fairways, we hopefully, touch wood, are going to get firmer, yeah? We want to be coming to that ground with a bit more kind of a shallower angle, not slamming into it.
Perfect.
Okay, mate, does that make sense then, yeah?
Yeah, perfect.
Good stuff.